Over the next couple of tutorials, we're going to look at creating motion effects with our clips in terms of their playback speed and direction. So to get started, I'll select a suitable clip. I'll come down to the project panel and I'll scroll down and I'll select one of these. I'll go for this one, number 79, here in the list view. If I want to see this in the icon view, of course, remember, simply click on the icon view button. I need to scroll down again to select the same clip, number 79. That's the one with the sunset reflecting in the early evening sea. I'll double click to open it in my source monitor, and then I'll now use my CTI to drag across the source monitor view to see all of the clip at this fast rate. Okay, so dragging across like that, we can artificially speed up playback. Well, funnily enough, that's what we're going to be doing automatically using the available tools with Premiere Pro. So even though what we just did, dragging the CTI across, well, that's artificial, manually increasing the speed like that, we'll look at doing it here now. So I'll left click and drag and drop from the source monitor down onto the timeline. Of course, in this case, the video and the embedded audio from that track have been brought in. Now what I want to do is I want to remove the audio, and I'm doing this because the sound will be poor if we play this back at the incorrect speed. Although having said that, there is an option within Premiere Pro to try and combat that. But for our example, I am going to remove the audio. One way of doing this is to right click on your clip and then run up to unlink, and then that now divides our two components, the video and its originally embedded audio, which means now I can select just the audio track, well, just the audio clip anyway, and hit right click again and run up to clear. Okay, just as I want, the audio's now removed, leaving us with just the video. Now I'll just zoom a little, and I'll close my source monitor preview. Now before I show you anything else, let me just say that in the next tutorial, we'll be looking at something called time remapping, and we'll be able to do this with the Effect Controls panel. Well, we would if we select a clip on the timeline first of all. Now that I have, we now see the video effects options are, well, we've got motion, we've got opacity, which is what we always get, motion and opacity, and we've got that time remapping there. Time remapping simply means either accelerating or decreasing the pace of the clip, but not necessarily all the way through it. As I say, we'll be looking at this in the following tutorial. Okay, now I'll just select my source monitor panel again, albeit it is empty. Anyway, let's see how to adjust our clip speed and direction now. One way is to use the rate stretch tool with the shortcut R. Once you do select it, you can roll your cursor over the end of a clip and you'll see the cursor changes to the rate stretch tool icon. Now before I adjust, notice the length of our clip at the moment. At its original 100% length, it lasts for 8 seconds and 24 frames. Now if I left click on the end of the clip and drag it to the left to reduce the length of a clip, well, this means that the clip will need to play back faster to get all the frames into the shorter duration. And you'll notice now that the length is 5 seconds and 19 frames. So what we've done is we've speeded up the clip by around about 3 seconds. I'll hit the play button so that we can see this playback faster. Okay, now I don't want to leave it like that, so I'll run up to edit and hit undo to go back to our original length of 8 seconds and 24 frames. Right, let's go the other way now and slow it down with our rate stretch tool. So I'll left click, and this time, rather than dragging to the left, I'll drag to the right. And you'll see our length is 11 seconds and 22 frames. So now when I hit play again, well, as you can see, we've got a much slower playback. I'm not going to play it all. Whilst you're doing this, you might have noticed on the clip, next to its name, that we see 75% is registered there. Well, this means it's playing back at the moment at 75% of its original speed, rather than 100%, i.e. we are playing back slower. Incidentally, if you click where it says effects, I know it's only small, but you should just about see it. Well, if you click on there, you'll reveal these 3 options to choose from, including time remapping. Okay, now as I say, we'll get back to these options later. Okay, now I want to go back to 100%, so I'll hit edit again and then down to undo. Okay, now I'll show you a different method now, and we do it by right-clicking on the clip and choosing speed stroke duration. As a result, this clip speed duration dialog opens up, and you'll see at the moment that the speed field is set to 100%, with our original pristine duration indicated underneath at 8 seconds and 24 frames. But if I change the speed to 50%, well, you'll notice that the duration extends to 17 seconds and 18 frames. Therefore now of course we know this will play back slower. I'll change it back to 100%, and there we see it revert back to 8 seconds and 24 frames. But if I change this to 200%, then of course we're playing this back much faster, i.e. double speed, which will mean that the duration has to last half the amount of the original length. So in this case, we're now down to 4 seconds and 12 frames. Okay, now I'll just go back to 100%. And then finally, notice this checkbox here below, indicated as reverse speed. If you check it, this will force the clip to play back backwards, of course. And be aware that because we removed our audio, remember we unlinked the embedded audio from the video, well, that option below is removed. If we hadn't have unlinked and deleted the audio, then that option would try and stop the poor quality audio time stretch. I'm not entirely convinced about its quality, but you give it a try. Anyway, let's now make the speed 75%, and I'll place it in reverse. So now of course it'll play back slower and backwards. And I'll just hit OK. Now let's hit play to watch this. OK, now although slower, my laptop is struggling to play back smoothly. Notice the yellow line across there. Well, that simply means we need to render our clip for smooth playback. And to render, let's go up to sequence, and then I'll drop down to render into out. And once we have rendered, that yellow line disappears to be replaced with a green line to indicate it has now of course been rendered, and we will be able to play back more smoothly. So I'll hit play. Okay, so those are a few different methods of achieving the same thing, playing back our clips at different speeds, either faster or slower, or indeed we can play them back in reverse.